So how did you become Hallie?
It was an adventure. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of, making up games and playing outside, and the typical 70s where there was quite a bit of chaos, from very young parents. They were 18 and then they had 3 kids, 18, 19, 20, boy, girl, boy. So they were children raising children, and it was chaotic and fun and loud and nutty, and it was basically get out of the house when it was light in the morning and come back at dark, and if you didn't come back when it was dark, then you were in trouble. It was basically one of those. So it was a lot of my own creating adventures. My dad always described me as a bit of a soldier. I always did what I was told. That doesn't mean that I didn't do other things too. I did a lot of bad things. I don't know, I was somewhat invisible for a very long period of time. So I got to be whoever I wanted to be, and sometimes that was, I remember I had a pony, and my friend and I would run through these fields on her ponies and pretend we were cops chasing drug dealers one day, and go the next day we're super women doing these other things, and we were riding our race horses, and we were always adventuresome. So when my dad would come to me and say, you need to go do this, and I would do it with no questions asked. I would just do it. And he said one of his biggest fears was that I would always do it, and soldiers go into battle and not all of them come out. And he says he didn't realize till later in life that might not have been such a good thing for me, because I didn't always come out of the battles unscathed. But I came out of them going, okay, was that good? Was that bad? Did I learn from it? But in some ways it was also very sad, because it's a very lonely place to be. I think being a soldier is not necessarily being a team player, not necessarily being part of something, but you're putting yourself out there, and it doesn't always turn out the way you want it to.
What made you feel invisible?
We had a young, chaotic family. In the early 80s, when things were very bad economically, my dad was in the mortgage and real estate business, and that was not a good time. We lost our home. We moved into my grandmother's house, and honestly, I didn't realize till later in life that parents or people would tell me, oh, that must have been awful. I thought, are you kidding me? I was living with my grandparents. I mean, who doesn't want to live with your grandma and your grandpa, even though my parents were crazy and trying to keep everything together, I had porridge with my grandpa every day. I loved that, 6 a.m. He never said anything. He was a Swedish farmer. He never said anything. He played solitaire and you ate porridge, and as long as that was happening, that was good. So I was invisible really because nobody ever asked me what I wanted, what I was up to. They just told me what to do.
That was
the soldier thing. It was like, you just, Hallie, do this, Hallie, do that. And I filled the gaps with things that I wanted, but never told anybody about them, because honestly, I thought it actually mattered. I don't feel bad about it. I just remember filling my time with Hallie things, and then I had to get to the point where I wasn't doing it for anyone else, and I was just basically staying out of the way and not causing any problems, and I think that's what the invisible thing is. As long as you're not causing problems, you're okay.
Were you raised differently than your brothers?
Came from a big family of men. In that house there were 14 of us, and there were 3 women. My grandmother, my mother, and I. It's a very matriarchal society. Grandma's a Métis from Saskatchewan, and she raised 9 children and adopted some more, and we always had foster children, and there was always other people to take care of. It was interesting, but it was certainly matriarchal in the way that the women in our family took care of everyone, but the men ruled the roost. They made the money. They did, typical farming style family. And what they needed was the most important thing. If the men needed to eat, or the men needed to go to the baseball games, or the men needed to go to whatever it was, whether it was a very athletic family too. I do remember very clearly, every weekend we'd be listening to Grandma go, I'm going to Jason's baseball game, or I'm going to Rafer's volleyball, or I'm going to wherever, and I'm just like, okay, well, all right, see you on Monday. There was never, Hallie, what are you doing? It was never like that. But again, I don't regret it, because sometimes flying under the radar can be a very good thing too, because you get to do other things and not be forced to sit on the bleachers with everyone else. It was strange though. Looking back, it was strange.
Were you lonely as a child?
I think I was, actually. I think I was quite lonely.
Yeah.
In my own sense of loneliness I didn't need people to entertain me. I could entertain myself. But looking back, it was lonely. I don't have friends from junior high school or high school. Those formative years, I was at the farm in Saskatchewan.
Wow.
day school ended, they put me on a train, even at 10 years old, they put me on a train in Vancouver. And this is quite, it's good when I look back, but you'd never do it now. 2 days later, you show up on a farm in Broadview, Saskatchewan. I mean, who puts their kid on the train for 2 days by themselves?
Wow.
Yeah. But you did it and you were okay, and I survived and I loved it. And I thought it was the best thing ever and cried my eyes out every summer when I left that farm, because I had to go back to the chaos of the house, right? It's interesting.
What was your magical formula to succeed?
But as I said earlier, as a soldier, it's kind of a bit of a soldier mentality. You see, my dad was very involved in charitable organizations. He was involved in our real estate board locally, provincially, and he was a leader, and I always looked up to him. I thought, that's so great how he could go and do that, being such a young guy with 3 kids and no money and all those crazy things, to go to the top. And I wanted to do that too. I wanted to create that for myself, because again, that was that big challenge, and no one said I couldn't do it, but no one also said that I could. No one talked about it. No one said, oh, Hallie, would you like to go do this, and we should support you and run for the director of MBABC. I didn't tell anybody when I did that. I signed my own nomination thing. I sent it in, didn't tell my brothers, didn't tell anyone. And in fact, even when I became the chair of MPC, I got a lot of flack from the family about that. I was so proud. One thing my dad said to me, he goes, how long is this going to take? In other words, how long is this going to take for you to be the chair, be the pastor, and get out of it and get back to work?
What qualities do you think women need to be successful in their careers?
There's many, but I think bravery is certainly one of them. I think you need to be brave. Wins and losses and all those things, but you've got to try it. One of the things about WIMI and even your project, I love the fact that we're encouraging ladies to just try. Run for a board, lead your community, just try it. Sherry Corbett, I mean, she's awesome. I don't know if you've seen her yet. She's on the MPC Symposium tour this year. The challenge for her of public speaking and her just going and doing it. It was terrifying for her, but she got brave and she decided, this is what I'm going to do. And it was a personal challenge. She's doing it. She's completely stoked. I love that about her. I would never have pictured her as someone that wanted to be on stage, but she is, and she's rocking it. So I think bravery is certainly one of the first things I would think of, and compassion. You have to be compassionate. You have to recognize that there's others, that are maybe not as brave as you, and try and bring them along and help them out. And if they say no, they're not ready yet, that's okay too.
Did you ever stand up for something that you knew was right, but felt like it jeopardized a work opportunity or jeopardized a relationship at work?
Yes. There's been a number of times over the years where in our business, you're in a family business, people are saying you're taking sides. And quite often it would be, well, my brothers would say, oh, you're just taking dad's side. You're always agreeing with dad. And that sounds a little frivolous, but it wasn't. It was like I either had to choose their opinion or my dad's opinion and not even have my own, even though I would say what I thought. It always kind of got pushed towards you're agreeing with dad. And that did cause some splintering in our family business and within the family for a number of years, even somewhat recently. And I don't know if they, daddy's girl, I don't know what they think, my brothers. And that's probably been the most painful and the hardest ones to get by. Look, I have my own opinion, and just because I agree with him doesn't mean I'm taking sides, with him all the time and saying, I don't value your opinions either. I think that may be the case in a lot of family companies, but it was certainly something that was very difficult, and even to this day is difficult.
What's something people don't know about you that would surprise them?
Oh, geez. I used to barrel race. I was in rodeos for many, many years.
Really?
Yeah. I wanted to originally, before we got into the family business, decide this is just what's going to happen. It was part and parcel of it. I honestly thought I was just going to be a rancher's wife, and I was going to be quite happy with that. I went to an agricultural college. I didn't go to business school. I went to Olds College, an agricultural college in the middle of Alberta, and I just, for a couple of different reasons, I was interested in going. I loved animals. I loved agriculture. I think that's part of our farming background. And I couldn't see myself not taking care of people. So I figured, I didn't think that maybe I'd have my whole brood of children myself. That wasn't anything that I actually really ever wanted to do. But I certainly could easily see myself as a rancher's wife. That's what I wanted.
How have you handled failures or setbacks in your life?
I cry a lot. No, sometimes I do. I mean, I remember being at NBABC and the association was going, this is business, of course, going through a turbulent time, and we were changing executive directors, and we had some very aggressive personalities on the board, some of which you know, that I actually broke down, and I was, crying. I was like, there's nothing else I can do because everything was so, it wasn't out of my control, but their emotions were out of my control. And they were being mean people. And I was just like, what is going on here? You're being selfish and mean, and this is not about you. And I had a real hard time with that because I didn't understand why they couldn't see the bigger picture. Mm-hmm. I had to just push through it, honestly. But when I come into situations like that, I really try and be reflective. But I am still such a push forward person. I can't dwell on the past. Mm-hmm. The past has made me who I am today, and it'll be like that forever. No matter what happens tomorrow, something comes out of this interview or out of this trip, who knows? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Mm-hmm. You can be a bundle of stress and nerves, and I can't do this, and I can't do that, and I can't make change. And there are certain points that you can't make the change necessarily that you want to, but there might be a part of it that you can. There might be some little difference, or you might flip the coin over. Boris Bozic was so great for that. He taught me how to. I have my opinion, and I'm going down this road. And he was always the opposite. And he did it. I'm sure he did it on purpose. And I learned a lot from him because he was like flipping the coin, like in a bad situation, something that you think is you can't get past, and it's so stressful, and then you flip it over. You go, okay, what is this really all about? Who is it all about? What can we do with it? And inevitably, you come out with something. Mm-hmm. But we have to want it. You have to want it. I wanted something different. I wanted something more. I wanted a challenge, and I was very strategic about it, and picked my battles, had my tears, did all those things, but never ever stopped. I never stopped because of what someone said or what someone did. I just couldn't do that. But it's up to us. It's up to us. It's up to the ladies. If you don't want it, then yeah, we're gonna have a stage full of men and a few ladies. That's the way it is. But there's some incredible female leaders that I am watching, thanks to our women group coming through and running for boards and doing more things. And I don't want to say being more because they're already more. They're just showing it and shining and allowing us to see how great they are. And I truly believe there'll be more of them. Mm-hmm. And that's, my mission is to make sure there's more. But you got to deserve it too.
Yeah, I totally agree.
You got to deserve it.
Yeah.
I wanted it. I worked for it. And I will always, even after having been the chair, will continue to work. Mm-hmm. You don't just go and do that and disappear. That's when you actually have the power to be influential and to teach other people how to lead. Once you've got there, that is just the beginning. That is not the end. That's where it starts. That's where the work really starts. That's how I feel right now. It's just getting better all the time.
Yeah. Have you ever experienced an emotional glass ceiling? And if so, what did you do to overcome it?
I have things that I have to work on, for sure. Of course, I would love to be healthier. I'd love these things, but it's not a ceiling for me. I just haven't got around to it yet. I guess I haven't felt like it's the most important thing in my life, and hopefully it won't get to the point where my health, it's pushed upon me. One of the things I do acknowledge about myself that I think it's a weakness and it's something that I have to deal with is I'm a pleaser. Even though I certainly like to lead and do things, I don't want to disappoint people. Mm-hmm. I don't ever want to let anyone down. I'd rather, if I saw something in a store that I really, really loved, and my husband saw something in the store that he really, really loved, and both cost $2, I would always buy his before I would ever buy mine. Aww. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I would always do something for someone else before I would ever take care of myself. Mm. No, and I know that I have to work on that because it's, it can be an empty place. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you can get angry with people, but it's my own doing.
Yeah.
It is 100% my own doing, and I'm the only one that can control that or deal with that. But it's probably if it was an emotional thing, it's probably such a weakness.
So what's the best way to address the social challenges that women experience?
Well, I certainly think both men and women shouldn't put themselves in the positions where they're vulnerable, men and women. Whether it's alcohol or whether it's being in someone's hotel room and it's inappropriate. It's inappropriate or not inappropriate. And certainly there's that other further end to that where there's things out of your control that happen. But, being in a room, and I'm guilty of this, being in a room where you're not feeling that comfortable, but not saying anything. How about saying, guess what? Stop grabbing my ass. You know what I mean? Like, stop doing that. We need to do that more. We need to say that more. I mean, we don't. I'm guilty of it myself. Being uncomfortable and just moving away and not addressing it. When the whole Me Too movement came about, I was really excited about it at first. And I thought, this is great. We're talking about things that we should be talking about, being open and honest. But there's such a big difference between some of the really horrific things that have happened to people that I can't imagine them talking about. Hopefully they do. And then some not discounting them because they obviously were uncomfortable and not okay. There's a big difference in there. And I also, as I mentioned earlier, have incredible mentors that were men who will never do something inappropriate that I would know of, that I champion. And it seems like everybody's been thrown into it. Locker room talk. Yeah, it's bad. It's inappropriate. I've also heard some pretty crappy things from some of my girlfriends, from myself, sitting there, talking about some super hot guy in the bar. Is that right? Is that wrong? I mean, I don't even, you kind of got this real big gray area where I didn't even know anymore. But the good thing about it did start a great conversation, a really great conversation. But I was so worried about how that was going to affect kind of all men. And I love my men's men. I'm married like a man's man. Like, he is that guy. He's a bit of a caveman. He's that guy. And he's very masculine and he's all these things. And I would hate to take that away from him.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
I don't want to cut him off, right? So how far do we go with it? What do we do with it? It's great. It started a great conversation.
Yeah.
Now what? It's kind of like Me Too. Now what? What do we do with it? They always say, leopard doesn't change its spots. I believe in rehabilitation. I've seen some, some pretty shady characters make incredible life changes, men and women, make incredible life changes and come out the other side completely different.
Yeah.
So are we as women going to be brave enough to allow these men to go through the hard work?
Yeah.
Or are we just going to cut them off at the knees and say, that's it, I'm done with you? I hope not. No, I'm a believer in coming out the other side with some good work. And we know in our industry there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I challenge us all to look to our great leaders and look to the people that we admire, whether they've had their own challenges, and help them come through the other side.
What have you sacrificed personally for your career?
I didn't get married till I was 40. That was interesting, and I didn't have any of my own children. And when I go back to, I always wanted to be a rancher's wife, and I was not necessarily, I didn't think I was going to have 3 or 4 or 5 children, but I just thought I would have this family. And then you work, and you get so involved in your business, and all of a sudden you're 37, 38 years old. And
Yeah.
what the heck just happened? Like, where did the time go?
Oops, I forgot to have kids.
Yeah, or gosh, we got engaged 4 years ago. I guess we're supposed to get married. Like, all that. It just, everything just kept getting pushed back, and I don't know if it's a regret. I'm not sad about it because obviously that was my path.
Yeah.
And I have 2 incredible stepchildren out of that Darren brought to the family. But I do think back sometimes and go, oh my gosh, if I would have slowed down just a little bit and maybe got out of my own bubble and looked at myself and gone, is there more for you than the family business? I don't know what would have happened.
Yeah.
Because I was so driven and so, tunnel. This is what I'm doing. This is what I have to do. And honestly, and it went like 15 years went by like that.
Wow.
Just like that, Kyra, like just that fast. Like, it's a blink of an eye, and so much happened. But it was just so fast. I just wish I could have slowed it down and gone, okay, outside of the business, is there more for me?
Tell me about the accomplishment of all your accomplishments that you consider to be the most significant.
Oh man, I've been really fortunate. The most significant?
She's got like so many
No, I'm trying to think.
It's hard to pick
I
one.
won really some great awards, and I'm so thankful for them. But I think the creation of WIMI has been unbelievable. I can't imagine my life without Wimmy. And women in the mortgage industry was an idea. I mean, I couldn't tell you 5 years ago before Wimmy if I knew many ladies in Atlantic Canada. I mean, I've had some incredible experiences. I flew to St. John's and toured around Newfoundland with Martha Farrell. I didn't know Martha Farrell. Martha Farrell is an amazing woman. I met her through Wimmy. And we're doing better business, we're doing more business, we're collaborating, we're consulting and mentoring each other. And I mean, can you imagine the mortgage industry without Wimmy now?
No, I mean, incredibly.
What did we do?
I know, I know.
I think that's probably for me the one that gives me the goosebumps the most, and seeing how the conversation has changed and how, oh, I don't want to ask this question because someone in my community might know it's me. So could you post this anonymously to me, for me, and to just post away, ask the questions. There truly is no stupid question. There's just a mortgage industry question or a comment, and that is amazing. Now for me, it's who is going to take this to the next level, not change it necessarily, but we need some next generation to go and grow Wimmy and keep the community and the conversation going.
What's your biggest piece of advice for a female entrepreneur?
I don't have advice, but I'm certainly, my own daily motto is why not?
Why not?
Why not? Like I said earlier, if I'm not hurting someone physically, emotionally, or financially, why not? Go for it. Be creative. Think outside the box. I mean, that's, everybody says that, but do you do it?
I do.
Yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah.
My dad taught me something a long time ago when I just started my real estate career. I got my real estate license in 1989, and I had one of my first listings. It was a triplex, and it was a crappy little building. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to run my ad in the Rev, the Real Estate Victoria magazine, and what I'm going to say and how I'm going to sell this. And he looks at me in his typical kind of miserable way and throws a newspaper in front of me. He goes, "There's your clients right there." And this is when you used to have like pages and pages of columns of rental properties and all that. Remember the classifieds, when the classifieds were really important? And so he says, go to the rental section. Every one of those that is renting a house is one of your potential buyers. It's true. They already believed in renting. They understood investments. It's like, oh God. So, I got on the phone, called every single one of them and asked if they were interested in buying other rental properties. And it took me about a week and had an offer on the property. But what that taught me was, it was right there. And it cost what, at that time, a long time ago, 50 cents a day, as opposed to $100 in this ad, this amazing ad that I was going to make. And my clients were right there, and it was that you need to think outside the box. Sometimes it's right in front of you, and it was amazing.
What's your spirit animal?
I think I have two, but I think I've always had a passion for horses. I love them. I can look in their eyes, and they look in my eyes, and there's just something about them. But other than that, I love cats. They're independent. They do their own thing. They whether they tell you or not, they don't need you, right? They're going to keep surviving, and you can disappear for 2 weeks, and your cat still comes home and looks at you like, "Where the hell were you?" sort of thing. And I don't know, cats are just really independent but powerful animals, and I just love them.
Yeah.
Have you had mentors over the years?
I never had a formal mentor. It's only been in the last couple of years I've been approached by a few different ladies and say, "Would you be my mentor?" I don't think I didn't grow up in that era where you approached anyone, male or female, and said, "Would you be my mentor?" I mean, that wasn't the era that I grew up in. But certainly there were people that I looked to and I wanted to emulate. And at various stages of my career, of life, I looked at different people for different reasons and different strengths. Business-wise, I love Kathy Gregory. I love Boris Bozic. They make you think. They make you do things differently. There's so many, but you have to almost go generational, like what happened. My dad, for various reasons, and not for various reasons. There's some things that he was great at that I absolutely love, and of course things that I don't. My mom, it seems obvious that your mother should be a mentor. My mom, her motto was, I'm never lost, I'm exploring. My dad would go from A to B, my mom would go to A to F to C to Z, and she'd end up back. She'd like, "If you miss your stop on the bus, they're gonna come back. They gotta go home tonight, Hallie, it's gonna be okay." That was her. She was this total, dope smoking Scrabble playing hippie. I mean, she's and loves everyone until they cross her. You know, so
Yeah.
I learned lots of things from many people. Gary, crazy entrepreneur. I love that guy. There's things about him too that are not necessarily what I would want to emulate, but at least he goes for it. He's a why not kind of guy. Why not? I mean, honestly, Cara, there's so many. Look at yourself. You're doing something that no one's done. But I love the fact that you're doing something that people are not, and you're bringing attention to something that is extremely important to you. It doesn't have to be important to everyone else. It has to be important to you.
Yeah, totally.
Period.
What do you do to unwind?
I love to cook, and
I know, you're always
I
posting
love to cook.
Recipes on
Yeah.
Facebook.
Honestly, like it sounds really silly. Making soup stock is like, I know it sounds crazy, is so therapeutic because it takes a long time to do it well, and you know, there's not many shortcuts, and I just love doing that.